hard. So I was looking at a record and I was like, oh my gosh. And I told my assistant, I go, you're not going to believe this. I go, we are 2-15 in championship games. Now I knew it wasn't good, but I didn't
That's
know it was that.
significant. That's significant, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you figure you're going to luck into 7 or 8 wins, right? No, not us. Like, so I was like 2-15. So I started deep diving into these podcasts like you're doing. Mental Mettle, Jamodi podcast, Basketball Immersion. I'm watching daily, every day. My drive into work, I've got a 37-minute drive to work and home before bed, listening to podcasts. What are these other people doing? I'm taking notes like a madman.
This is the Mental Mettle Podcast, where we explore how to forge mental toughness and resilience in every aspect of life. Welcome, I'm your host, Coach Matt Thomann. I'm an ICF certified professional coach with a background as a teacher, basketball coach, and athletic director. But my journey took a dramatic turn in 2020 when I survived both cancer and a stroke. Those experiences shaped my mission to help others grow stronger in every facet of life. Today, I work with athletes, coaches, educators, and anyone who believes that positive mental health is both achievable and a personal responsibility. This podcast is dedicated to helping listeners develop a positive version of toughness, one rooted in resilience, focus, and growth. Whether you're looking to excel on the field, in the classroom, or in life, this is your space to learn, grow, and take action. Join me on this journey, and together, let's forge your mettle. Okay, coaches, here's the question for today. Are you more transactional, or are you more transformational? And that's what we're talking about today. That's what we're talking about with my guest, Josh Williams, Clinton Lady Maroons. That's my guest today. That's our topic today on the Mental Mettle Podcast. And I'm really excited about it. It's a really cool idea, because when we get in talking about transformational, as a professional coach now, I am all about transformation. I am in the business of transformation. And to see a basketball coach, make this journey from being a transactional coach to a more transformational coach, it's really, it's a breath of fresh air for me to hear a coach do that. And just a little bit about what that means. A transactional coach, it's the old school. What we talk about, it's all about the exchange. I give you something, I expect something in return, between the coaches and the players. It's focused on managing, directing specific tasks to achieve short-term goals. Now, you might have long-term goals, but it's like your practices and everything are all about these short-term goals, right? You have this amount of time. You have to do this. You have to get this done. We have to do this. We can't have, and it's very metrics-based. So it's very focused on immediate outcomes, performance metrics, very structured, very hierarchical. It's top-down leadership. Coach makes all the decisions, and the players just follow, my way or the highway. That's transactional coaching, and quite honestly, that's you can get things out of it. You can have a lot of success in transactional coaching, and quite honestly, that's how coaching used to be. That's a way a lot of us grew up with, is that transactional coaching. Josh would tell you, and you'll hear it in this, that he used to be that way more, and he had a lot of success. So you have to give him a lot of credit for opening up his ego a little bit, being a little bit vulnerable, and realizing that we are successful, but we're not as successful as we could be. What am I doing wrong? What could I do differently? And I love that when he dove into stuff, he started realizing that the key was to be more transformational and less transactional. Transformational means, instead of that expecting things back, expecting something back, it's more about inspiring and motivating the players, fostering that deep connection between the coach and the players between themselves, right? That's the interesting thing, right? As a coach, when you're doing the transactional stuff, it's very, I expect this, you give me this, I give you that, things like that. And that becomes the leadership you see, and then you see that between your players, right? It's about, I'm going to talk to somebody in hopes to get something out of them, right? And that becomes the way that's the vibe of your team, right? So as you start being more transformational, you're going to see more transformational relationships among your players, which is really what we're trying to get, what we want. And this sort of growth goes way beyond the game. It's emphasizing long-term development, and it does not just mean on the basketball court. It's about personal growth, and it's really about building that culture of trust and empowerment and teamwork that you want. Like, transformational is the way to get that. And there's so many benefits to that idea of transformational coaching. Now, I think that a good practice, there's still going to be some transactional stuff there, but you have to have that transformational part. Josh talks about in this episode about the three things: talent, toughness, and togetherness, and how he was really good at the first two. And the transactional would really give him those first two, but it just didn't foster that togetherness that he realized he had. He was creating all these pieces, but he wasn't holding them together. He didn't have that cohesiveness and that togetherness. You can really only get that from the transformational coaching. And his journey and his decision to change this is just it's really a really good episode, and I'm so happy for him to come on and talk about it. It's really cool. So as you go through this, if you're a coach, if you're paying attention, I want you to take some notes as you go through this episode. Mental notes, or get your notepad out and really start thinking about what you do that's transactional and what you could be doing that's transformational. Remember that transactional is that setting these clear goals and expectations, like even in every little practice, I have to get this, you have to give me that, right? And then also it's this focusing on the results, that very hierarchical situation. And it's got these consistent reward systems, and there's punishments and things like that. That's that transactional. And start thinking about the transformational. Take some notes on what Josh is changing and doing differently on this transformational, and how he's opening up communication and feedback, how he's so intentional about doing all these things with his team to build togetherness and communication and feedback and all these things, and these team bonding things that, again, that could be used as time that we could be doing shell drill or rebounding drills or just getting up more shots. But he's starting to realize that this is worth time to do that. Be paying attention on what he's doing, maybe how you could start to put some stuff into your practice plan. I would tell you that this episode, probably more than any that I've had on here, is the best for the little tips. Try this, try this, try this. Josh has got this. He's just got this big bag of things he's doing now to be transformational. And it'd be a really good idea for you to take some notes as we do this. I'm going to talk to you on the other side, and we will talk about it. I want to try to help you become more of a transformational coach. But for now, listen to Josh Williams of Clinton Lady Maroons talk about it. Coaches, do you dream of guiding mentally tough athletes towards a championship? Kids that are resilient, persistent, and unshaken by setbacks. Well, in today's world, those athletes aren't born. They have to be developed. Many athletes face significant challenges and risk burnout. So how do we foster that mental toughness without overwhelming them? Well, introducing the Ember to Inferno program, Building Mentally Tough Athletes. This series is designed specifically for coaches, offering a deep dive into your own journey of mental toughness and equipping you with practical tools to build confidence and belief in your athletes. Rather than just simply adding more adversity to their life, we focus on creating a strong foundation for mental resilience. You'll learn how to transform a spark of motivation into a blazing fire of toughness, using techniques that address challenges like social media pressures, athletic stress, and trauma. Don't just wish for mentally tough athletes, build them. Join the Ember to Inferno program today and ignite the potential in your athletes. For more information, contact me, Coach Thomann, at Mental Mettle Coaching. All right, welcome back to the Mental Mettle Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Matt Thomann, and I'm here with my guest today, Josh Williams. Josh Williams is the head coach for the Clinton Lady Maroons in Clinton, Illinois, and you've been doing that for a hot minute here now, Coach.
Yeah, long time. Just finished my 24th year coaching basketball. With Clinton, it was number 16. 16 years as the head coach. I did spend 2 years junior high boys before I took the girls' job back in 2009. Yeah.
Okay. So it's one of those things that I'm sure that when you look back, you're about to hit the quarter century mark of coaching basketball. I'm sure it's not like, I don't know. The years add up faster than we think.
For sure. Yeah. It makes you feel older than dirt when you think about it. How many years you've been doing it, but I still feel young and I'm still learning. I've learned more in the last 2 years about coaching than I did in the previous 15. So I think that's the key. Just continue to grow, get better.
I think that our propensity to learn actually, I know that our brain absorbs more when we're younger, but the lessons stick a little bit better and we have that experience. We actually learn, have the propensity, have the ability to learn more when we're older, as long as we allow it.
Absolutely. I think for me, it definitely had to do with humility and ego and those things that you struggle with, especially as a young coach. You know, you think you've got things figured out because it's worked
Yeah.
once for you. And failure comes
That's,
along and kicks you right in the tail. And then you
yeah.
got to go to the drawing board and get better.
Yeah, it does. So give me a little bit of rundown. I love to start with a little bit of bona fides because we're going to get into some stuff on the mental stuff. And I know that you coach now a little bit different than you used to. And that I love that. But I love to throw in a little bit of bona fides because I like to start with, well, why should we even listen to this guy? Right. So talk to me. I know you've had a fair amount of success. I've followed you over the years. You've had some success there with the Clinton Lady Maroons. So talked about a little bit about the success you've had.
Okay. So I took over the program in 2009. And it was kind of like most jobs. It's one that was kind of going through a down period.
That's how they're usually open for a reason.
Right. Yeah. Correct. Yeah. You got it.
Yeah.
And they had won 11 games in the 3 years prior to me being there. It was 39 wins in an 8-year span. And then I got in there in year 1 and we won 12 right out of the gate. We went 12-16. The next year we went 14-14. But we started off like gangbusters, man. We were 5-0 in the Okaw Valley Conference. We were 13-7. We got the number 1 seed in the league. Now we had a really good point guard come in as a freshman, and that had a lot to do with it. But we had a lot of momentum from year 1 because those last 20 games we went 11-9, and so the kids were having success that they had never seen before. And really all I did at that time was just teach defense, effort, rebounding, play hard, that kind of stuff. And I definitely raised the floor, right?
Yeah.
And we'll talk later about it, but I kind of started to feel a couple years ago, like, am I just the guy that raises the floor, but I can't raise the ceiling? Which kind of got me into why I've transitioned and went more transformational coaching. But things kept just getting better. So we won 12, we won 14, we won 18. Then we went 25-6, won a regional championship, went 21-5. We won the conference tournament. And then that next year we had 2 all-state guards. They got hurt, missed 12 games. Big chunk right in the middle of the year. We could never get right. And that's when I started to learn a little bit more humility. It was tough. We went 12-16 with a team that should have been a 20+ win team. Never got those kids right and got them healthy. And then we had 3 years of it was tough. The talent was down, but we continued to guard and rebound and be tough. So like we never bottomed out. 10 wins was the worst we ever got. Like we were 10-18, and over 16 years, I'm kind of proud of never having that single digit win season, you know.
Yeah.
Those hurt. Those can hurt.
Yeah.
And we got some talent to come back in. And there was our 2022 class came in, and they never had a losing season there. We won 16-17. Then we had the COVID year. where we went 13-3.
Just who cares? Who
Yeah.
knows what? Yeah, that's
And then 27-6 that following year in 2021, 2022. We broke the school record for wins in the season. We were undefeated conference champs. And we lost the conference tournament championship game that year to Tuscola. We beat them by 18 points at their place, and they got us at their place in the conference tournament championship game. And then we had another good class come in, and we just kind of started over. We in 22, would be 22, 23, we started playing these freshmen. We had 4 freshmen in our top 7, and we won 15 games, and then we won, we were 15-17, and then we went 21-12. And now this past year we went 25-8. So those kids are going to be, and again, we were undefeated conference champs, won the conference tournament. And just in these last couple of years, that's when all these changes we've started to make. And I don't know if you want to talk about that.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about that, like you coming into a not a good situation, because
sure,
I think that, first of all, before I get into this, I mean, I know that you coached a year or two under Mitch Holmgren. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was with Mitch for 1 year. Yeah,
1 year. I'm sure that. Yeah, because I coached under Mitch, and I've worked with Mitch for years now. So when you talk about those things that you came in right out of the gate that you're doing, it's, when you're starting into a situation that's not good, they haven't won many games. Like, I think everybody wants to figure out what kind of offense we're going to run and do this. But if you've been a school that has not historically got players, the young players are excited, they don't have the skill, right? They just don't. And that takes time, because basketball, probably more than any other sport, you got to have the skill. Well, you came in, and the things that you just said, we did defense, effort, rebounding. Those are no skill things. Those aren't skill. You don't need skill to do those, and you can win games. And I think that's how you can go from having, win games in 11 games in 3 years to actually winning 12 in 1 year, because that's your focus.
Sure. Yeah. 100%.
I mean, am I on the money? Is that where you came in from?
Yeah, I agree with you. And I did the same thing. So my very first job, I was 20. My first head coaching job was at Amboy, way up north.
Okay. Yeah.
It was 2004, 2005, 2006. I was a head coach there for 2 years, and it was a very similar situation. They had won 9 games in 3 years. And then I came in, first year we won 10 right away. And I did the same exact thing there that I did at Clinton after having coached with Mitch Holmgren. I'd worked at Midland. So I was a JV boys coach under Chris Gibson.
Yeah.
And Chris Gibson, he was at Dwight for a while, and Olivet Nazarene. Great basketball coach. And he was young at the time, like 26, 27. But he taught me, I remember getting in there thinking I was a good high school basketball player, right? But coaching is way different. And when I heard him start talking, I remember just being down on a knee and just absorbing everything that Chris was saying, because like I had never listened to it like this before as a player. You just don't grasp it and hear it. And so I learned how to plan a practice. I learned what it meant to be a great teammate and to hold people accountable, and to work hard and to be disciplined. So that took me a really long way, as you were saying, to take a program that maybe was unstructured and a little bit undisciplined. And then right away, you can make a difference. I mean, you nailed it. If you just come in and the kids are tough and they play hard and you defend and you rebound the ball, there's no reason why you can't win 12 games a year, like you alluded to. So, yeah.
Now, you say that talking about having played high school, but and you're like, I didn't feel like I don't know anything. You're coming in from playing high school, but you played on a really good high school team.
Yeah, Maroa Forsyth was very good. I think the worst team was 17-11 during my 4 years there. So we had always had some success. DMAC's head boys coach now, Chad Kluver. He was our JV coach, and I played for Scott Adrian, who did a great job at Maroa, and he's at Dunlap now. I think he's the assistant superintendent there. But Chad stays in contact with me to this day. And we'll talk. We'll meet at Monocle's for 3 hours to talk hoops. Great guy.
Oh, it's great. I love that. Right. Yeah, I know. It'll be good. It's just interesting because it doesn't matter what kind of high school player you are. You think you're like, I'll be able to coach. I'll do it. And it's just you just don't know you don't know anything. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah, to flip the way you just see the game from a
Yeah.
player to a coach, it's 180 degrees different. I really struggled with that. I was like, you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
And you figure that out very quickly.
Yeah, no, it's good, and yeah, and I've been following. You've got that success. It's really good. I talk to me a little bit about. Did you come in like in your defense? Are you going this straight like pack the lane, all that stuff from the same stuff Mitch would do, like
Yeah,
I
100%.
love
So
it.
when I got there with Mitch, I was still young and I thought I knew everything. And I didn't play Mitch's pack, but I watched it the whole year, right? And I learned it. And I was like, I'm gonna do this Bob hugging stuff. And he's like, that's fine, you do that. He was okay with it. And I love Mitch. I mean, what a great guy.
Hmm.
But I think two things I learned from Mitch was that I remember there was one time I was a teacher's aide and the JV boys coach, and I coached track. And I went to school that day and I had jeans on, and I had forgot to pack pants for the game that night, right? And I would never wear jeans to a basketball game. And I was so disappointed in myself. And my wife was like 35 minutes away. And Mitch, I couldn't believe it. Mitch was like, well, he's like, I'll just wear jeans and we'll match. And I was like, oh my goodness. Like, I couldn't believe a person would just wear jeans to match me. Like, oh, what a great guy he
Yeah,
was.
yeah,
And that stuck out. And then the pack line defense. Like, I tried to kind of not do it. When I left DMAC, I got a job at Clinton, junior high PE, and I had there was no high school job, so I took a eighth grade boys job, and I didn't play the pack that first year. I did it the next year, and I was like, okay, I like this. And once I got that girls job in 2009, we haven't looked back.
yeah.
And it's yeah, that's a huge reason why we've been successful.
It's it'll keep you in games when you're trying to figure out when you're trying to figure out how to play offensively. It'll allow it'll allow you buffer
Yes.
room, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it really will. I got to tell this. So my daughter played for me that one year, and I started putting the pack line in, and like it's one of the most proud dad moments I've ever got. She got me a coffee cup, and it wrote on the side, it said ball gap help. And I was
Oh,
like, all right, I'm like, that's a
yeah.
pack line thing. And I'm like, oh, she's paying attention. And just like, because
Yeah.
I would just scream that over and over and over again. If you're not saying one of those three things, you're not doing everything you could, right? It was like,
Right.
you got to be doing it. So I just
Yeah.
love that. I think I don't know the last time you talked to Mitch, but when he coached my son, and it was interesting for him because we had a year where he had scorers, and it
Okay.
was like the pack line, they could do it, but it was like in their best interest to be in an up and down game. And it was
Okay.
I had so many conversations with him. Like he just had a lot of like angst over like, what do we do here?
Yeah.
Like the more possessions, the better it is with this group. What do we do here? And it was like, it was a testament to him because he finally was like, we got to let him run a little bit. And but it's interesting how when a coach like that finally gets the talent, is like, okay, what do I do now with it? So it
Right.
was interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, yeah, I love all the success you're having and all that. But then what I love about, and the reason I jumped on the podcast is because I started seeing you post some stuff, and I was like, I'm always looking for people that I know, and it's when I read some of your posts, I'm like, okay, that's the kind of guy I want on my podcast. And the reason is because I know some of your success that you've had, but there's something in your posts that it seemed like you changed some of the way you're doing stuff. And anybody who has had the success you've had and is, over a dozen years decides to change the way they're doing something, it's like, I want to talk to that guy because you're changing even when you're succeeding. Right. And
Right.
I got to know why. I want to hear the story on why.
Sure. Okay. So it really all stemmed from this. I would say, so last year we were in the championship game against Tuscola conference tournament, and they had beaten us 2 consecutive championship games in a row. The Holiday Hoopla, they beat us. They beat us in another conference final. And they're just really good. They had a 2-year period where they were winning 32 games a year. Good team, right? And very well coached. And we were up 8 points with 6 minutes to go in the game. And this is our team that finished 21-12 that year. And we thought we had it. And then we would have this stretch, this 4-minute stretch where we would have a turnover, and then it would snowball to another turnover, and then a defensive mistake. And it was like we couldn't get out of our own way for a 4-minute segment. And we ended up losing the game by like almost, I think, 10 points. It just got it. It was incredible. And at the time, I know I did not help things because, like, if I take a timeout, especially back then, and even still some now, I was probably the guy, old school, and I was throwing more fuel on the fire. I'm
Yeah.
upset. I can't keep myself calm. And then the kids, next thing everyone has more anxiety. We go out there and we just make more mistakes, right? So that kind of started it. I was like, man, we lost another championship game. So then we get into the summer. So summer going into this season, and we're playing our games in June, and we're playing a heavy 3A schedule. So we're playing all these 3A schools, and they're beating us. And we know, like, we just went 21-12 with sophomores, right? These kids are coming back as juniors. We're going to be good. And we're getting beat, and we're getting behind. And what I saw from the kids was, when we get behind, we start to lose trust, and we lose that togetherness. And I call it the Superman cape. The kids start putting on the Superman cape and like, Coach, I got it. I'm going to take over the next 4 minutes. We're down 9. I'm going to put us up 7. And then we just start taking bad shots. We don't share the ball. And, the coaches and I are looking around like, oh, this is bad. How do we fix this? So it was in July that I started to kind of self-reflect. Like, what are we doing or what are we not doing that these other teams are doing? Right. And so I went back and I started going through my records, and I'm like, okay, from 2012 to 2024, we had played in 17 championship games. Now that sounds great. That's a lot. That's a lot of championships.
It is good because you got to work to get to a 7. You got to work to get to a championship game. Let's be honest.
It's hard to get. It's hard to win just a single game, but to get to a championship game is hard, and then to win it, really hard. So I was looking at a record, and I was like, oh my gosh! And I told my assistant, I go, you're not going to believe this. I go, we are 2-15 in championship games. Now I knew it wasn't good, but I didn't know it was that.
That's significant, though.
Oh yeah, because you figure you're gonna luck into 7 or 8 wins, right? No, not us. Like, so I was like 2-15. So I started deep diving into these podcasts like you're doing, Mental Mettle, Jamodi podcast, Basketball Immersion. I'm watching daily, every day. My drive into work, I've got a 37-minute drive to work and home. Before bed, I'm listening to podcasts. What are these other people doing? I'm taking notes like a madman. And so I accumulated all this information. And I just started saying, we're going to try this. We're going to try this. We're going to try this. And then the other thing that I realized is like, and hearing this, I'm like, all this modern coaching that they're talking about, I'm still stuck in so many old school ways. They're just not working with today's athlete. And the adversity part is killing us because we just don't have that trust, and we don't have the togetherness. Because like we were saying, there's 3 things you got to have, right? You got to have talent, toughness, and togetherness. With the talent and the toughness, we can win games. But without the togetherness, the championships do not come. So that's the part that we said, here's the plan. This is what we're going to do to fix that. Yeah. So
it's, man, I got about a million questions here. Let me start. First comment is when you say talent, toughness, and togetherness, like togetherness is the one that takes the least amount of skill, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, the hardest
It's the
hardest to.
Yeah. It's the hardest to get, but it's like you don't have to work. Like, yeah, but it's amazing. It's just kind of an interesting insight on on that. So what I'm curious about is what's the change? Talk to me about the before and after. Like that's your come to Jesus moment, right? That like, okay, we got to do something different. But so whenever I work with athletes or teams, I always talk about there's 2 things we need for change. We need recognition, and then we need repetition, right? So recognition of what the problem is, and then repetition on what we're actually going to do different. That's what I want to talk about. What do you do? What do you do different now? How is Coach Williams different now?
Sure. So there's lots of changes, right? There are a lot of them. We started off very first meeting. So practice number one, we did a 20-minute team meeting before we went into the gym. So we're in a classroom, and we're like, we got to really set the tone for this season. And so I saw the Florida softball team do this thing. It's all about the mortar. We must unite. And they talked about, like, pretend that everybody in your team is an individual brick, right? And if you stack these bricks up, when adversity hits and pushes your brick wall over, if there's no mortar holding that together, those bricks are going to disperse individually,
Yeah.
which is what we saw. That's what we were doing in June when we were getting behind, and kids were going their own separate ways, trying to just beat these teams by themselves. So obviously we have no mortar. So that we what we started doing was, how are we going to change our culture? How do we bring these kids together? So it kind of started with, let's go here. There's so many things. So just bear with me, Matt.
Oh, I'm here for it.
We started with our pillars. We've had, all the coaches talk about, well, what are your
Sure.
standards or your core values or your pillars? So we always had these kind of standards. And it went all the way back to Mitch. It was Mitch Holmgren standards, really, and the Ron Olafson stuff. And it was like 8 words, but it was just, to us, it was just words on a page.
Yep.
I gave it to them at the beginning of the year, and we never revisited that ever again. So I've always been a Tony Bennett fan because of the pack line stuff.
Yeah.
Not that I like his offense, because we play fast on offense, but I do like Tony, and I love the pack. And so he had these 5 pillars. So I borrowed some of those and tweaked them into an acronym that we could use. So our acronym was SHOUT. And so the SHOUT is servanthood, humility, ownership, unity, and thankfulness. So the way we use that is, every single day, we've always had a thought of the day. Well, this year I decided my thought of the day at the beginning of practice, when we huddle the team, it's always going to come back to one of these 5 pillars. And I did that every single day for all 50 practices. Okay, so we had a thought of the day with a pillar. Then we said, let's come up with a daily schedule for the team. So let me start with Saturday. So like on Saturdays, we said we're going to do show and tell. We're going to have show and tell on Saturday. So kids would bring in, their pets. They would bring in pictures of their vacation. We had a kid bring in a 900-pound cow that was out. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Everybody went out and saw the cow. My kids were at practice that day, and they got to touch it. So very cool. But okay, so what can we do so kids get to know each other a little bit, to build this mortar, the bonds and the connections that we have to have as we get into these situations of adversity? That was one way we did it, right? So then on Friday night, we said, Friday night, we're going to do Friday night bingo. What's everybody do over 50 years old? They go to Friday night bingo, right? So I found it on X or Twitter. Someone had posted this bingo board, a servant leadership bingo board. It was Jeff Jansen. Well, I took it and made my own. And it was a 5x5 grid. So on Fridays, everyone's going to practice servant leadership. I got it here. So like a couple squares, it would be like, give every player a high five during practice. That's one of them. Tell 5 teammates why they did a great job. Welcome every player to practice with a greeting, right? So I said, every Friday we're going to do this. When we get a drink break or something, or at the end of practice, go over and just mark off the ones that you're doing. Now, this isn't just captains. We don't do captains.
Right.
This is every player in the program. And you might not get a bingo today, and that's okay, but we're going to do it again next Friday and the Friday after that. And I told them, you're going to get a new bingo board after you get 3 bingos in this board, because I don't want you doing the same 5 ones every time, right? Don't get comfortable doing these. So, and if you get a bingo, then you got a sticker, a servant leadership. So like, here's a sticker. It's a wolf pack sticker, because we play the pack, right? So our motto is one pack, created by culture, unite. So I'm like, you become a servant leadership. You get a servant leadership pack. You become a pack member. So the kids love that. Like little things like that. It was great. So I'm like, I like this. This is going well. And then on Thursdays, we have Triple H Thursdays. So Triple H Thursday is an idea I got from Tony Bennett. And that's hero, hardship, highlight. So I'll be like, hey, tomorrow, so and so, you're going to be hero hardship highlight. So we have one kid at the end of practice. They tell us who their hero is in their life. You're going to give us one hardship that you had to overcome, and you're going to tell everybody the highlight. And that's one that gets pretty emotional. When these girls
Yep.
talk about who their hero is, we get, here comes the waterworks, and there's lots of crying. It's very emotional. But it's great in building bonds and those connections and bringing people together. You just feel like you know people better. If someone's vulnerable like that and they can open up
That's
to you
I
in front of the group, massive, huge hit for us.
I say it all the time. That vulnerability is like it opens up so much, and it feels counterintuitive, but controlled vulnerability and vulnerability in the right position with the right people is like it is tough,
Yeah.
right? To let people in is tougher than holding everybody out, which is what we think it's supposed to be. And it's like it opens the door for so much change and so much growth. I'm with you. I'm with you. Your athlete probably spends hours working on the specific skill set they need for their sport, and they probably spend hours in the weight room building their body. But how much time do they spend intentionally training their mind? Well, building mindset is the key to bridging the gap between the skills that we see and game execution. Well, Mental Mettle Coaching provides individual programs that can help your athlete develop this third and crucial skill set. Mettle is a person's ability to face adversity in a spirited and resilient manner. It is a great skill to have for athletics and for life, but it is not something we are born with. If you want it, you have to forge your mettle. And if you listen to the Mental Mettle Podcast, you already know that, but not everybody else does yet. So help me out by ordering and wearing some sweet The Mental Mettle Podcast gear. We've got short sleeve tees, long sleeve tees, and some super comfortable hoodies. Order online today and you can have your gear in no time. But the best part is that every order helps support the show and helps me spread the message that mental toughness is a trait that can and should be built. So find the link in the show notes, order your gear, and start showing that you know how to forge your mettle.
Yeah. And I don't want to get sidetracked on what I was saying, but I had that situation this year where, every year there's highs and there's lows. And we're doing all this stuff, and there's always going to be some issues. So I had one issue with a family, and the mom and the dad wanted to talk to me, right? It's typical season.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's
yeah. So I get in that conversation on the phone with the parents, and of course, they're heated over the situation that was occurring. And for the first time in my life, I was vulnerable, right? And I said, you know what? I can do better. I apologize for how we handled this. We're going to do the best we can moving forward. I would love to talk to her. So then I talked to the player for an hour afterwards. Fixed, perfect. Everything went great the rest of the year, all because I was vulnerable. And I remember telling this to, we have a guy we teach PE with. He's a young teacher, he's 23, 24. And I was telling him this story, and he just couldn't believe it.
no.
When you're young, you're like, why would you ever do that? And I'm like, when you get older and experienced, you understand vulnerability brings people together. You don't have to shrink your ego, right? Let people in. Be
Yeah.
humble. Like Ted Lasso says, be curious, right?
Yep.
You don't know everything. Is there a better way to do something, right?
Yeah, and I always like to say that you and the kid and the parents, you guys all have the same goal, right?
Yeah,
And we forget that sometimes. It's like we're on the
great
same
point.
team here. We're on the
Yeah.
same team. And it is your as the job as the leader, it's your job to not to be confrontational, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And you're right. Like all through my 20s, probably into my 30s
Mm-hmm.
even, you put a wall up between
Yeah.
you and the parents. Like you don't talk to me. I'm not talking to you about playing time. I'm not talking about anything, right?
Yeah.
And it's just so different. And you just learn as you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
But sorry to get sidetracked on that.
No, it's fine. It was a great sidetrack. It was really
Okay.
good. Keep rolling on some of
Okay.
the other things you're doing.
Sure. So then Wednesday, this is an idea I got from Tim Briley and really Josh Jostis. It's Merle Forsyth football.
Okay.
They do a Wellness Wednesday.
Yep.
So I'm like, what a great way to just show kids you care about them. We're going to check in with you. So I send out the Google form every Wednesday. We're checking in on their diet, their sleep, nutrition, their phone time, their mental and emotional well-being. It's 6 questions. It's just click, click, click. Doesn't take the kids that long. And then there's a spot in there where you can tell us and give us, you can write out, a paragraph, sentences
Mm-hmm.
if you choose. If there's anything that's bothering you that you want to talk about. And you'll get 1 or 2 kids who love to just check in with stuff like that all the time. Sometimes kids just click the little bubbles, which is fine.
Fine.
But it allowed us to kind of track this, and we go, oh, here's a red flag. So then I'm going to check in with that kid that day and say, if however we can help you, we're here to help. And sometimes my assistants are checking in because they get that form as well. So I really like that. It gets the kids to understand you care more about them than just what they're doing on the court,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's not just basketball. And that's one of those things you learn later in life too. Hopefully these young coaches are listening to this pod and they'll pick it up earlier than I did. But when it becomes about them and it's not about you, that's when you can really turn things around. And that's when you can have sustained success and not just
Yeah.
win, every once in a while. Tuesdays, we had a juice practice. And this is another Moreau Forsyth football thing where we would I would have my assistants pick 2 kids, but none of the kids would know who was being selected, right? So their objective was they had to get 10 positive acknowledgments or encouragements to a teammate, but nobody
Yep.
knows who's picked. So everyone in the gym is just great job, high fiving people. You get this juice going in the practice, and it's really cool. Um, and then you get to the end of the practice. Coaches, did they make it? Yes. And if they don't make it, then you got to pay taxes, and taxes is some running. We're going to be doing some running if we don't make it, which would happen quite a bit. Like we would get to like 7, not quite to 10, and it is what it is. But it helped them practice servant leadership, right?
Yeah.
Everyone is encouraging and appreciating people and showing thankfulness, and it's just a beautiful thing to teach
I think
everybody how to.
that servant leadership thing allows I think kids think that if they're not the best player or they're not the senior, that they can't be the leader. And
Yes,
servant leadership is one. It's the best type of leadership, even if you are in charge. But it allows everybody can lead from where they are, right?
sure.
And
Yes,
and and that's it's not an inclusive type of leadership. It's everybody can do it, and it's just like such a great focus that you have on that.
yeah, for sure. I listen to a lot of Simon Sinek too, who's
Mm-hmm.
great on leadership. And he mentions a title doesn't make you a leader.
No,
It's having followers. That's what makes you a leader. If people are willing to follow you, and you could be a custodian and be a
yeah,
leader, people are going to follow. It doesn't matter. Um, so yeah, the servant leadership was big in our program, and we would encourage that every day. It's like I would say, hey, if you're at the end of a line, you don't have to sit there and be a mute. If you see somebody doing something right, tell them. If you see somebody doing something and you think you can help them, help them. And I got that from John Shire at Duke. And then as soon as
yeah.
you say that, kids just start talking. And it's like, oh, this is great. And we don't need team captains for this. We don't need it.
Yeah, I
Everyone's trying to
agree.
help.
I think it's a you as the coach, as the prescribed leader, because you are, like, you have to give up some of your power and your ego to allow that to happen, right? Because when you tell a kid, hey, we want you helping somebody out, they're probably going to do something wrong once in a while, right? They're like
Sure.
going to try to help somebody and do it the wrong way, and you have to be enough to be like, I don't care, right?
Yeah. Right.
They're trying, right? It's
Yes.
like, yeah, it's like a defensive team. I always tell my defensive teams, I want you talking, even if you say the wrong thing. At least I know what you're doing wrong. But I want you talking so that I can hear what you're thinking and sharing that information. Right? It's the same
Yeah.
kind of idea. Yeah,
Yeah. And that's so true. That happens in practice all the time. Like,
yeah.
I remember a player saying years ago, one of the best players I ever had, but she would be like, Coach Williams never stops talking, which was probably true. But as I've gotten older, I've learned just they're starting to fix it themselves. Like, just step back, and I'm going to let that junior talk to that sophomore, and she's going to fix it, and it's going to be okay. And I need to shut up, and I don't need to say anything. And
And
hearing
she
it
will,
from them,
yeah, and
yeah,
she
is
will
way
fix
better.
it. She will fix it more efficiently than you will.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. They are
Like,
tired of hearing from me.
so you named like almost every day of the week that you are doing something that takes a little bit of time to do it, right?
Sure.
So the first response that I get from coaches is the worry of like, well, yeah, but you're taking away practice from time. You're taking time from practice, and this takes time. I have a response to that, but I want your response on that.
My response to your question would be we're 2-15 in championship games. Like what we're doing is not working.
Yeah.
So we are open to trying anything that might help the togetherness and the trust. And I've fully invested myself into it this year. And we had talented players, but we won 2 championships. We were 25-8. We were pretty good. And I think this had a lot to do with it. Now, I think each group is a little bit different because in the past, we were able to win 2 championships, right? And we had talent, we had toughness. And just by luck, probably happenstance, we had some togetherness. But it wasn't anything that I was doing to present the culture that we want on a daily basis. It's just the kids happen to get along. You know what I mean?
Well, but I think even though it's a small sample size, well, first of all, you won as many championships this year as you had the previous years in your
Yeah.
years at Clinton,
Yeah.
right? So simple size or not,
Right.
it's you're making progress. But I think that even with that sample size, you can see that it didn't make it worse, right? Taking that extra time to do these things with your athletes rather than spending more time practicing a shell drill, right?
Yeah.
That's
I love the shell drill.
I do. Of course, I know you
Yeah.
do, but you know what I'm saying. It's like
Yeah.
it's but this is time. We're worried about show and tell, and that's time that we could be in the gym practicing more shell drill. And I think there's a limiting returns on how much gym time you have to have it. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but I think that some of these other things that we're talking about that you're showing they're the mortar, they're the glue that allow everything to coalesce and come together. It doesn't happen otherwise. You have to have
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. 100%. You're right on, man.
Huh. So another thing that you said, you're talking about kind of the old school. I talk about this all the time. You're talking about the old school coaching and the new athletes. And I think that I don't know why. All right. There's a long list of reasons why athletes are different now. There's a whole lot of different pressures, social media, stuff like this. But there's one thing I know is that we're not putting the toothpaste back in the tube. Right. So sit here and complaining about the situation is not fixing anything.
Right.
They are a little bit different, but that's okay. I think that there's benefits to the way that kids are now too. So, but I do think we have to adjust as coaches.
We do. Yeah. It's, someone said you adapt or die, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoy what I do. Like this is what I wanted to do when I was, 12 years old. I remember I remember coaching my brothers. I had 3 older brothers growing up, and I remember coaching them in a basketball game, just pretending like I was Phil Jackson or whatever. Like I always wanted to do this. I could die out now and not adapt. I'm like, no, not doing that. Like what is happening around the world around me? How do I become transformational, not transactional? And it's just been so much better for us. So much better.
Well, okay, but see, I'm going to ask another question now, Coach.
Sure.
Coaching is hard on coaches, right? It's an emotional toll. It's a physical toll. What do you notice in your personal life, your home life, and anything teaching and coaching this way versus the other ways?
And just something I just thought of too is that having kids, I think, has changed me a little bit too.
Yeah,
So
that'll do it.
yeah, I got a 10-year-old daughter and a 7-year-old son, and you do become a different person once you have kids, and you start to realize these kids you're coaching, they have parents just like I am.
Mm-hmm.
These are someone else's kids. So I'm going to treat them with as much care as I possibly can. And that's kind of how I go into it now. I forgot your question. I got sidetracked.
I was going to say, how did it change changing this way and being more transformational and more focused on this servant leadership? How does it affect your personal life? Like coaching this way versus the old school way?
Well, I find myself too teaching my kids this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, um, everything comes back to these pillars. And that's what I love about the pillars is that whenever something is going wrong in my life or my kids' lives or my players, if you go back to servanthood, humility, ownership, unity, thankfulness, it's usually because one of those five things is off. We're not
Mm-hmm.
doing one of those five things. And this has been perfect for me. So I talk about serving with my kids. I talk about serving with my players. If they text me, I had a player just text the other day. She wants to start training, basketball trainer. I'm like, that would be a great way to serve in the community. Give your gifts back. There's no reason to hang on to those. We got to share that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you just see the kids just light up. Like, coach thinks I can do this. He's got confidence in me. He believes in me. Um, it's so magical. It's the greatest thing I've ever done. And I'm calmer, right? I'm calmer
Yeah.
through it. I don't get so worked up when the kids are, they didn't pick up. I'm not yelling at them. Um, I'm a lot less emotional. That's one of the things I'm trying to be. Be confident and be calm.
Yeah.
Stop reacting and be intentional about your responses, right? I think that's the other thing too. Going back to when adversity hits us, it's that E plus R equals O, right? The event plus the response equals the
Yep.
outcome. Are you above the line or are you below the line? And when we're below the line, there's an issue there. And if it happens multiple times, now it's like, okay, mindfulness, breathing, feedback loop. Like I've started talking about this stuff. I've never talked
Yeah.
about this stuff
Oh,
before,
it's
but it happened to us this year. I called a timeout. I brought us in. I'm like, okay, guys, 3 deep breaths. What are 3 things we could hear at the gym? Right? Just reset. We got to reset because things are
yeah.
starting to snowball. And I
I'm
think it
glad to hear you. I'm glad to hear you say that because it's one of my favorite. I call it the breathing and the mindfulness. I call it the reset button, right? For the
yeah,
athletes that I
perfect.
work with, and I'm like, because we get uptight, we get reactionary, we get so worried about stuff, and being able to have a reset button. And it's something I work with athletes that don't know, like a lot of basketball players. I've taught them this when they get pulled out of a game for making a mistake, and I teach them a mindfulness technique. I call it 5-4. It's a 5-4-3-2-1. I don't know if you've heard it, but it's
Okay.
see 5 things, hear what is it? Feel 4 things, hear 3 things, smell 2 things, and taste 1 thing. Right, and
Right.
it's
Right.
and as you breathe, and it gets you very brought back in. And then I've found that once you have, or one of these breathing techniques like you mentioned, when you can hit that reset button, it allows you to refocus on what your goal is. And it could be your 5 pillars, it could be what your goal was for that game, but
Right.
you have to reset the nervous system to be able to do that. And I think that we miss that a lot. Are you doing any of the practice breath work in your practices or before your practices?
Not yet. We are doing it at school. We do it at school in those SEL
Okay.
lessons.
Do you want here?
So
You
I
want to
got
hear
some
my?
experience, right?
Yeah, I know. Do you want to hear my thoughts on this?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. So if you're going to ask kids to do breathing exercises at a timeout, right?
Sure.
That's going to feel awkward, and they're going to be like, okay, I don't really get this, but I'm going to try, because they're not very good at it. So
Right.
meditation, this is a form of meditation, is a practice, right? So if you start to practice some breathing techniques like before every practice,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're better at it, so that when you ask them to do it, they get the benefit quicker in a
Sure.
timeout. Right.
Sure.
So it's like if you want to be better at free throws, you got to shoot your free throws. Right. So
Right.
and that's one of the things that I always teach to the teams and the coach and the athletes that I work with. Like, if you want to be able to reset with some mindfulness techniques, you have to practice those mindfulness techniques before you need them. That's an idea that I try to preach a lot, and I think it can really help. Just whatever we practice, we get good at. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, I agree. Definitely something we need to
Yeah.
spend time on. It's you got to make sure you do it before the crisis hits, right?
Yeah, that's my point, right?
Yeah.
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 You do.
100%.
It's the same thing. You have to practice. Like, you can't expect to be good when the pressure's on if you haven't practiced when the pressure's off.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is. It's across the board for everything, right?
Oh yeah. Yep. I
Yeah.
agree. 100%.
So what's up for this year? What do you got coming up this year? What changes, what tweaks are you working on?
Well, some of the other stuff, we had these mortar moments, so I think we're going to continue this. We asked them in their exit survey, did we have too many? Do we need to do more? Do we need, And so the kids liked the amount of team building stuff we did, and we
Mm-hmm.
really spiked it this year, way more. We had a campfire night, so we had one of our players host a campfire. We had like hot dogs, chili. And then everybody was in a circle and we kind of went around and we said, okay, share an embarrassing moment or a funny story with us. And everybody went around and said something. And then it was tell us your favorite basketball moment. What was your favorite basketball moment? So that was just a team building thing that we did together to try to create some more mortar, right? Another one we had was we did a flashlight scavenger hunt. This one I actually liked a lot. So one of my assistant coaches has a big property and he's got these woods in the back of his house. So we took the same theme with the mortar and the bricks, and we put every kid's name. We wrote it with chalk on the bricks, and we divided them up into two teams, and we put the bricks all over his property. And it was dark, and they had their phones, their flashlights, and they had to go around and be the first team to get all the bricks back to the home base. Um, so it was this huge thing. It was great. I got a couple of videos of it. I don't think I put it on my X, but I think I put it on my Facebook Clinton Lady Maroons page. And the winners got a hoodie from Coach Peterson. He's Peterson Insurance, right? So he's got these extra hoodies laying around. So we gave that as the award, right? The kids loved it. Could have been anything. Could have given them a sticker and they would
It
have
doesn't
loved it.
matter. Yeah, it doesn't
No,
matter.
right. But that was a great night for us, and we had pizza and Coach Brian and I, my assistant coach, that same night, they did the thing that was going around where we couldn't see them and they were in a line behind us and they had to say, "Hi, hey, coach," right? And then we had to guess who it was. That is so hard, by the way. Like we
It
failed
is.
miserably. We couldn't tell their voices. I was so embarrassed. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like, I have no idea who this is. Very difficult, but it was a great night just building mortar, right? And then we had a movie night, so we went to another player's house. They brought in Raising Cane's. We watched a movie together. Another good mortar night. We had a Christmas party at our assistant coaches, which we do every year. Pajama party. They do a gift exchange. And we went to an ISU Redbirds game. We saw the Redbirds play. Went to Chili's before and did that. And the kids said that was. We also had a meal. So we do a fundraiser every year. At the beginning of the year, it's the texting thing, and a lot of people do it now, and it works great for us. We've got a lot of money out of it, but we just fed the kids. We had a parent bring in meals and fed the kids. So it kind of goes back to kind of like the Bible, right? And the breaking of bread and the Last Supper. Like anytime people get together, oftentimes there's food involved. So it just makes sense to us. We like to gather with food
Yeah.
and create
What I
more.
love about this is you're calling them mortar nights. You've told them what mortar is. You've told them the whole point is to help them hold up in adversity, right?
Right.
So it's not just having these team building exercises, but they know now the intentional purpose of these exercises, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that then you're going back and talking about these moments. And I think that a lot of times we've done some team building exercises. We just call them team building exercises and we just get together. But letting your kids know why you're doing what you're doing and what you think the goal, what the purpose, what the benefit is going to be, just by telling them, hey, whether it's right or not, coach, if you just say, hey, I think the fact that we had dinner together might help us win this game in January. I think maybe that it can, but if you say it with enough confidence, they'll be like, hey, the reason we won that game is because we had breakfast. We ate Raising Cane's together and we had these mortar nights. Just believing that is enough to make some difference.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Yeah.
It's
Speaking of the
great.
mortar, we have this thing here. So this is the brick wall with the mortar.
Yeah.
And we have like every player has a word. So we do a 10-minute meeting every year at the beginning of the year. And I say, these are your strengths. Here's your weaknesses. This is what your role is going to be. They get to ask us some questions. How can we coach you better? How do you like feedback? That kind of stuff. But then one of the things they do is they choose a word. So it just helps remind them how to be like faith, toughness. Some kids, when I take the floor, right, I need to be tough, confidence, hustle, resiliency. So I take this, it's just one sheet. I used to do individual pages, but I couldn't keep track of them. They'd be falling off the walls. I got it down to one this year. and I can take this with me on the road. So I just stick it on the wall in our locker room. They touch it before they go out on the floor, and it just helps remind them mortar, right? And then this is my word. And I think it really makes a difference, with our mindset, essentially.
I love that idea of having like one word and having that be your focus. Like I said, it's so important when there's so much going around, so much happening, and so many things they can't control. That's one word that they can control. And
Yeah.
it's so powerful. The more I talk to you, Coach, I'm not surprised you're having the success you had, because so much of what you're doing, I see it so much in all the stuff that I'm doing in the positive psychology and the coaching that I'm working. Like you're listening to the right podcasts, Coach. I can tell you that, because you're making progress with it. It's fantastic.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You got to listen to a lot to get to the gold, right?
You
Some
do. I
stuff is
know.
just like, this isn't great. But if you
I
keep
know.
listening, it's in there. It's a
You'll
treasure
get there.
hunt.
You'll get there.
You got
I
to
know
find the
it is.
treasure.
I know. All right,
Yeah.
Coach. So my last question, I always ask, what's the question I should have asked you that I didn't?
Maybe how have you changed your approach to giving feedback at
That's a
practice?
really good one. That's a
Yeah.
really good. I'd like.
So yeah, let me talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
So in the past, for like most of my career, right? I just want to fix stuff right now
Yeah.
in front of everybody in public. I'm fixing a million things every 30 minutes, right? You jump to the ball. You got to be we're outside the curve, whatever it is. Um, and then now kids are like, oh, you tell them one thing in front of the team and you can just see them start to break
Yeah.
down in front of you. Some kids will cry. You can see some kids like, don't talk to me anymore. It's not great. So this is another thing where I had to reflect on, and I've learned from podcasts. Every kid wants feedback in a different way. So one thing I'm going to do this year that I'm going to add to my 10-minute meeting is I'm going to ask them, how do you want your feedback? Do you want it live, immediately, publicly in front of everybody? Do you want me to wait 24 hours? Do you want me to pull you out of the drill and have you talk with an assistant on the side? We can do that. So I'm going to let them choose their feedback gateway. Right, I got that from Dr. Gervais, and on his podcast. I think it's called Finding Mastery. Great. So we're going to use that. So what I started doing was I would say things like, hey, what if we change this angle? Maybe we see, maybe you see something a little bit different than what you saw. Just look at it. I'm not, I was like, whatever you think. And then the kid will do it. And they'll say, hey, coach, you know what? That was better. I like this angle. And so I got what I wanted, but they
Yeah.
come to their solution themselves because I said, what if, right? I didn't
Yeah.
just tell them what to do. And I tried this and this works great too. I will go, hey, I noticed you're struggling. Can I help you with this? I just ask permission to get for feedback. And if they say no, that's fine, and I'll move on, and maybe a teammate will help them. But they usually are like, well, that's why coach is here to help me. So they say yes,
Yeah.
right? And so I come in and I say it with, soft hands and gloves and kindness and caring. Um, and then they just take it and they're receptive. So I'm in this lane now where I'm trying to figure out how can I lead them to the solutions where they feel like they came up with it themselves. So it's a lot of what ifs. Do I have permission to help you? That's where I'm at right now. But that's changed
It's
a
so,
lot from how we used to do it.
it's so much different than how we used to do it. It was like, you're just going to take it. And that's the thing. We just like, kids are soft or whatever. And I'm like, you can feel that if you want, but I don't know. You get so much more out of it. Like
Yeah.
you get what you want out of it faster that way too.
Yeah.
It's a win-win. You just have to let go of your ego a little bit and don't want to have to be the hard guy.
Right. Which is really hard to do. It takes
I
maturity
know.
to let go of that ego. And I'm
Yeah.
still a work in progress, but at least I know where my failures are, my faults are, and I'm getting better and I'm improving every day. And I think it's only going to get better. When they think they did it themselves,
Oh,
they retain it more, right? It's
oh, absolutely.
retention.
100%. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. The way you described that is more like the coaching that I would do. I don't give any advice. It's all curious questions leading people to somewhere. And when you do that, you gain more insight and that recognition comes
yeah.
so much better. right? Because you get away from the defensiveness that comes with the
Yes.
yeah.
What you're doing
I,
is brilliant, Matt. That's brilliant. Yeah.
it's
Good
it's
stuff.
it's good stuff. I love it, and what I love watching. I'm gonna have to come down. I'm gonna come if you'll invite me. I'm gonna come catch a practice sometime.
Sure.
I'd love to
Oh
go
yeah.
watch it and
We would we
just
would love
jump in. So
maybe
yeah,
hey, maybe you could talk to the team. We'll talk
love to.
about it, but maybe we'll
Love
get
to.
some.
We'll talk about it, but yeah, I love to.
Okay.
That's one of my favorite things to do, man. So, Coach, it's been great talking to you. I'm so glad I reached out and you're willing to do it because keep posting, man, because you're good. And those I'll put your links in bio and or your stuff to Twitter and all everything in the show notes. If anybody wants to check it out, they can follow you because it's good stuff. So keep it up, Coach.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me
You
on.
bet.
Love to share
All
it
right,
again.
Coach. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Parents, is your athlete ready for the upcoming sports season? They might have the strength, the speed, and the skills, but without confidence, they could still struggle when the game is online. Skill and strength are great, they're necessary, but they're not used to their full potential without the right mentality. Confidence is key. It's the key to unlocking that full potential. And at Mental Mettle Coaching, I offer personalized sessions designed to build the confidence your athlete needs for a successful season. My proven techniques empower them to perform under pressure, both on the field and in life. Don't let a lack of confidence hold them back. Book a free session today and discover the power of confidence. Visit the website, get started on the journey to a more confident, successful athlete with Mental Mettle Coaching. Coaches, do you dream of guiding mentally tough athletes towards a championship? Kids that are resilient, persistent, and unshaken by setbacks. Well, in today's world, those athletes aren't born. They have to be developed. Many athletes face significant challenges and risk burnout. So how do we foster that mental toughness without overwhelming them? Well, introducing the Ember to Inferno program, Building Mentally Tough Athletes. This series is designed specifically for coaches, offering a deep dive into your own journey of mental toughness and equipping you with practical tools to build confidence and belief in your athletes. Rather than just simply adding more adversity to their life, we focus on creating a strong foundation for mental resilience. You'll learn how to transform a spark of motivation into a blazing fire of toughness, using techniques that address challenges like social media pressures, athletic stress, and trauma. Don't just wish for mentally tough athletes, build them. Join the Ember to Inferno program today and ignite the potential in your athletes. For more information, contact me, Coach Thomann, at Mental Mettle Coaching. I hope you took some good notes. If you're a coach, you're paying attention. There's a lot of really good stuff in there on how to be more transformational as a coach and how to transform your team. Athletes are different. No matter what sport you are playing, athletes are different and things are changing and the landscape is changing and you need to change with it. And I think being a transformational coach is a good way to do that. And it is your responsibility as the leader of a team to do that. You see, changing the culture of a team, it demands commitment to personal change from every member of the team, and that especially goes for the coach. Coaches have to lead by example, and they have to be the first one to embrace change and set the tone for transformation. They can't dwell on the challenges of working with today's athlete. They need to be focusing on changing their approach to support today's athlete more effectively. It's that same resilience that we want in our athletes, and resilience is adjusting and growing despite difficult circumstances. And today's athlete and today's landscape is a difficult circumstance. You need to be able to be resilient enough to change how you're doing things. It's this same sort of resilience you want from your athlete in the middle of a game when things go bad, get some bad calls, things don't go your way. You want them to have this resilience to be able to keep playing no matter what. As the coach, you need to be able to have that same sort of resilience to keep coaching in a different way because things have changed. And it's that same, like, you have to lead and show this ability to change. Josh talks about vulnerability. You got to have this vulnerability. You got to have this embracing the change, and showing how you can adapt or die, how you can adapt and become better. It's the same thing that we want our athletes to do in all these situations that sometimes we're not as good at doing as the adult because we just think we know better. We get stuck in our ways. And I when Josh talks about having a conversation with a parent and just saying, yeah, I was wrong, I could do this better. It is very difficult to do, but it defused the situation. He looked at what he could do different. He's probably a better coach for it. And he didn't spend the rest of the year butting heads with those parents. It's little things like that, not that little, but things like that that make an enormous difference in your coaching. But it all starts with the coach being able to be like, I don't think you can be a transformational coach without you transforming a little bit. You can't expect your athletes to transform if you're not willing to transform a little. That's some really good insight there. That's difficult, but it's so worth it. And I think that a transformational coach, you still want to win. You're always going to want to win. You want to get better. But when you start to change how you view success a little bit, because your goal is to transform these athletes into be better people, more togetherness, collaboration, more cohesiveness. They work better together. They work better with each other. They build up their own positivity, all these things. These are great life lessons. And in my experience, when those things improve, the record goes with it. And I've talked about this so many times on this podcast that your record it's a secondary thing. It's a result. It can't really be the focus. We have to focus on other things and let the wins come later. And if you aren't able to do that, it's really hard. It can make these situations where you feel really stressed, pulling your hair out, very difficult. You have to let the wins come, but you're putting time into other things that's going to make them better people, better teammates, better yourself. It's going to help your relationship with your at home, just because it changes how you do things. And Josh is just, I'm so glad I saw Josh started to post some things, and I posted it. I followed him for a while and I know him, and I just realized there's something different about Josh. He's posting things differently and he's saying things differently. And it's like, I could just see it. And I was like, he gets it now. He understands it. He's doing something different. And when I talked to him, you could just hear it in his voice. He's loving it. The fact that he said he learned more in the last 2 years than he has, his entire career. Man, it's a great thing to talk about, and to see somebody who's had success and still wanting to get better. And again, like I talk about the wins, like he's had 2 championship wins in his his almost entire career. And then he doubled it just this year. I know there's other things. The talent and the toughness are big factors, but when you start building the togetherness, it really helps. And I can guarantee he's not going back. He is now a transformational coach above being a transactional coach. And there's no way he's going back. You can hear it in his voice. You can hear what he's saying. You can see it in the way he's working with his teams and how much he's enjoying it. And it's just not changing. So there's got to be something to it there. Hopefully you took some good notes. Pay attention, see what you can do, start adding things here and there. These things are not time wasters. They are time savers, and it's worth the time and all these things that you could be doing. So as you're working this summer, going into this year, what can you do different to be a little bit more transformational and always be working into that? Just good stuff. And I'm going to put a plug in right now. If you struggle to do that, and if you're like, I don't really know how to do that, I do a lot. I'm really it's June. I'm really busy. I'm working with so many different programs. I go in and I work with entire coaching staffs. I do coaching sessions with the staff on helping them how to become more transformational and how they can change themselves so they change their athletes. And then I go in and work with the athletes themselves, and it builds this culture of transformation and how we want to be better people, not just better athletes and better coaches, as far as wins and losses go. And it's that part of my business has really exploded. I think that this is a movement that is worth happening, and it's really good. I'm enjoying it. So if you ever are interested in how to start to add some of these things into your program, into your team, into your own life, get a hold of me. I work with entire districts, teams, everything, and I love doing it. I have a passion for this because I see the progress, and it's so good to be able to help coaches and athletes in today's landscape and the way, with all the pressure that we put on athletes and athletics, and this helps that a lot. So if you ever have interest in that, get a hold of me. All my stuff is in the show notes. So, but for now, that's been the end of this episode. Great episode. I really enjoyed it, but we're out of time. So this is Coach Thomann. This is the Mental Mettle Podcast, and always remember to forge your metal. Thanks for listening to the Mental Mettle Podcast. Don't forget to tune in every week for more insights and strategies to help you forge mental toughness and resilience. This podcast is brought to you by Mental Mettle Coaching, where we are driven by a passion for sharing knowledge and experience that empowers others to play, live, and grow with confidence. Our mission is to instill a resilient and spirited mindset in our clients, enabling them to confidently face adversity and actively seek new challenges for personal growth. At Mental Mettle Coaching, we offer individual coaching, group coaching, and professional development for schools and businesses. Whether you're an athlete, educator, or professional, we're here to help you unlock your potential and thrive in every area of life. Until next time, keep growing, stay resilient, and always remember to forge your metal.